Hello and welcome to At the Leadership Table with retired Major General Jim Hoyer. Oftentimes people hear the word leader and they think only of political leaders, but leaders come in many forms, and that's worth exploring. I'm Jim Hoyer, born and raised in West Virginia, a husband, a father, a new grandfather, and a retired military leader, serving for over 40 years in public leadership for our state and nation. Now, the most important mission I have going forward is to educate, motivate, and empower our next generation of leaders. At the leadership table with me today is Rusty Hutson, the co-founder and chief executive officer of Diversified Energy Company, graduate of Fairmont State University. He served on the Fairmont State Board and as their chairman, and is now on the West Virginia University Board and serving as its Board of Governors chair. I've had the opportunity to both work with and be friends with Rusty over the last several years, and I am excited to have him on with us today. So, Rusty, thank you for joining us at the leadership table.
General, always good to see you and be with you.
So, Rusty, you're going to start out by asking you the same first question we ask all of our guests. Please share with us a standout moment when you learned something really important about leadership.
Yeah, I thought about that question a lot and really, trying to pinpoint a moment in time. I don't believe leadership is about a moment in time. I think it's more about the journey. And I know you as a general and the time that you spend in leadership in the military and for us as CEOs of companies, especially one like ours, 25 years. Next year we will have been in business now for 25 years, which is just seems impossible. But over a 25-year span, there's so many times where, I believe leadership always comes out when there's pressure. When things aren't going good is when leaders are developed. And so I can pinpoint so many times over a 25-year period where, things got tough, as all businesses do, where you have decisions to make. And, I think that's how you're developed. It's kind of like with diamonds, pressure over time. I think leadership is in that same vein where every day, you're faced with more decisions, and that's how you develop as a leader. And I will say this. I hear Rich say this all the time as coach of coaching football. I hope I'm a better coach today than I was yesterday. Well, the same goes for us as leaders, and you always want to be learning, developing, and becoming a better leader day by day. But I think it's developed over a period of time, not just in a specific situation.
Yeah, and I think that's a great example, particularly for young leaders to understand, and leading in good times is a lot easier than leading when you have challenges face. So tell us a little bit about how that experience and that background has shaped you as a person and shaped you as a leader.
Well, I can tell you, there's nothing that I'm more proud of than growing up in a very small town like Lumberport, um, and and the work ethic that came along with that. I grew up in the '70s. There wasn't a lot going on, General, back in the economy in West Virginia in the '70s. If you
All
didn't
right.
work in the coal mine or the oil and gas field, you probably didn't have a job. And so it was hard times. And what I love about growing up in small towns is that everyone, you develop relationships, you learn a lot of work ethic through all of that. I'm so grateful to my parents for the work ethic they instilled in me. I can remember, I tell my kids this all the time, but when you're out mowing grass at 7, 8 years old for money, you're learning something, and now look, I don't pick up a mower now. I don't want anything to do with a lawnmower today, but it was something, you learn, and you learn hard work, you get work ethic and how to manage the little bit of money that you had, because we just didn't have a lot. And so I think that growing up in that small town and the the work ethic, the toughness that you develop, and then obviously just being from West Virginia, there's that element of chip on your shoulder. Everybody's is always looking at you as if, looking down on you. Well, that's always something that you're wanting to prove wrong and grow through. And so I think just that small town atmosphere, I wouldn't, to be honest, of all my things in my past, I wouldn't trade that for nothing.
And that's a great story for young folks in West Virginia today to understand and realize this is a place that can shape you in a very positive way and a positive direction. You come from a generational activity in the oil and gas industry, I think 4 generations. So how has that shaped you as a person and a leader, and how did it help you lead to growing Diversified?
So when I look back, I have my great grandfather who was in the oil and gas fields for 40 years. I had my grandfather who was there for 70 years, and then my dad who's still working today. He's 77 years old. He's still out there, so his days are still going.
Hmm.
That's a lot of time in one industry. That's what I said earlier. If you weren't in coal mines or oil and gas fields, you were struggling back in the day. But having looked at the way they conduct themselves over time, the work they put in, they just went to work every day. General, I never heard my dad or my grandfather complain one day. Not one day. They just went to work. And I think that's lost in today's society. Everybody wants to complain, that they about their work and about their boss and their job and all that. I have found it being very rewarding if you just go to work, do what you're told, and excel at it, and everything takes care of itself. And so I watched my dad and my grandfather mostly do that over a long period of time, work terrible conditions at times and cold and hot and never complain. But when I started Diversified, people don't realize this, but my first few years I was out in the field. I was still working in banking at the time, and I would take vacation days to come back to West Virginia to work with my one little well tender that I had at the time, and we would go out and hands on fix leaks, try to get wells back in production, do all the things that people at Diversified do every day now. Those develop a lot of qualities that help you to be a better leader because you understand what they're going through every day in the field. And so when you know that, I've always said I have a much better understanding. I know a lot of CEOs at these companies, public companies in our sector, but they've never had that hands-on experience. That hands-on experience of being out there with the folks that are doing the work day to day, again, very, very important, and has really been a key characteristic in me being able to grow as a leader.
And you had multiple generations of family leaders who you got to see as examples, right?
Oh yeah, and we know some of the leaders back then, just the things that you could take from them
Right.
are just incredible. But they always led by example. They didn't stand up there and shake a finger and say go do this. They were leading by being right there, you know, literally in the ditch with the people they were asking to work with to do the work.
And while you have a headquarters in Birmingham and you've grown across the country, you have just absolute deep roots in West Virginia and Appalachia. Why is that so important to you still today?
Well, look, I tell people this all the time. I haven't lived physically in West Virginia since probably 97, but I have never left West Virginia. And you and I both know growing up here, being born, growing up, being part of the state, going through college there in the state, um, starting my career in the state, it never leaves you. I'm always amazed. My wife and I talk about this all the time, how people from West Virginia, no matter where they end up, they always call West Virginia home. And that's not like that in every state. There's people born in other states that never really call those states home after they leave it, but West Virginia is unique. The people are unique. The friendships, the family, it's all very unique. And so my wife and I both just have an extreme passion for West Virginia, to make it to make it better, to see it excel, and to surpass, all the negative comments that it takes over a period of time. We want to see it grow and get better, and so we've never left West Virginia. In our hearts, we've never left West Virginia.
Yeah, and I think that leads me into the next question that I had. And I recently read an article, came out at the beginning of the year, and you talked about growing up in Lumberport and a town of less than 2,000, how you saw your parents and your grandparents and the people around you work so hard and how they loved the state that they lived in. Uh, Growing up around that, it was ingrained in you. And you talk about if you're from West Virginia, you love West Virginia. That's just the way it is. Tell us a little bit about how that shaped how you and Kimberly work, because you guys are exceptionally generous, both in time and treasure, back to the people in the state of West Virginia. How has that shaped you guys?
Well, more than you know, and I can remember my dad telling me when he got back from Vietnam, he said, I told the Lord when I left Vietnam, if you get me out of Vietnam, I'll never leave West Virginia again. And he never did. I mean, he went out of state for trips or whatever, but he never has left West Virginia. And I watched my grandparents grow up, and live there, and it was just a way of life. And the one thing that Kimberly and I have always said is that we want young people that are growing up in West Virginia, we want them to have hope and education. We know how education changes lives. That's one of the reasons why we've been so quick to give to the universities, both Fairmont State, also to West Virginia University, for programs that we feel like are giving someone a hand up. And we like to make sure that as people, graduates from the state of West Virginia, we want those young people to excel, to have opportunities like we did, to make something of themselves. But not only that, but to also, give to economic development projects and such that try to keep jobs in West Virginia, because I believe that that's the next step. And that's where we need to go as a state. We've got to do a better job of creating those opportunities. We can educate them, but if we don't have the opportunities for them to stay, then we're letting our greatest asset leave, and that's our young people.
And we both have the experience of whether positive or negative sometimes being married to a nurse. So and
Yep.
you guys, I think because of Kimberly's nursing background, you guys have done some significant support to helping address the nursing shortage in West Virginia as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those jobs, it's a great opportunity for young people. There's a lot of those jobs that need to be filled in the state. West Virginia Medicine has done a phenomenal job of creating, rural healthcare, great rural healthcare for our citizens, and we need those hospitals, those have open positions. So creating, education opportunities so that people can fill those jobs was an important aspect of it.
So, last question, maybe to answer from two perspectives. One is the CEO of a significant corporation that's creating jobs in West Virginia, but also now you are the chair of the board of governors of the large land grant R1 and major medical center institution in the state. So, from both of those perspectives, what is your both hope and vision for what you see for West Virginia going forward?
Well, as CEO of Diversified, we obviously want to look for opportunities to continue to invest in West Virginia. Obviously, we believe natural gas is the future. And so finding opportunities to not only produce it more, but also to find uses for it, power generation, data centers, all those different types of, chemicals, all the different types of things out there that utilize natural gas. So those are all economic stimulus for West Virginia. The more we can create, the better West Virginia is, both from a producing natural gas to utilizing natural gas and doing it all in the state. So as CEO of Diversified, that's very, very important and dear to my heart. as chair of the Board of Governors of West Virginia University. Look, West Virginia University is very, very important to the citizens, the alumni, and the people that live and grow up in West Virginia. It's the, I believe, sometimes I call it the door to the state in some ways, and it has to be vibrant. It has to be relevant. It needs to be creating opportunities for our young people, both in state, but also people from out of state, to get education, to get opportunities for employment and for careers. And so all of that is a major important aspect of being chair of the board. I came in back in June and I said, look, I talked to the board about this. We got three main goals. If we can accomplish these three main goals over the next 12 months, not only will we have done our job, but we've done a lot. Number one is getting our enrollment going in the right direction, and I believe we have the assets now to really move that forward. We've got to create a financial discipline within the university that gives us a cushion to be prepared for the things that we don't know are coming, and to invest both in our academics. And then our number three is funding our athletics. I believe athletics, again, it determines the success of our university. And we've got to invest what it's going to take to be successful. And so all three of those things are the main goals for this year. Now, academics are always highly, highly important. And I believe that our new president is going to do a fabulous job on all these fronts. As I've got to work with him, he gets it. He understands how important the university is to West Virginia. And I believe with our board fully aligned that we're going to accomplish great things over this next several months.
Well, and Rusty, as a diehard born and raised West Virginian, and now two sons, a 29-year-old who left military and is back in med school at
Oh, great.
and an NCIS agent son who is in the Cyber Masters program. I appreciate your leadership, you taking on the challenge of chairing the board, and greatly appreciate you and Kimberly and your dad and your family as a whole for staying focused on West Virginia on a regular basis. And most importantly, I appreciate your friendship and look forward to working more together. And thank you for joining us at the leadership table.
Always a pleasure, and the same goes for me. Great friendship. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. This has been At the Leadership Table with retired Major General Jim Hoyer. Did you know you can now find me on social media at RMG Hoyer? That's HOYER, or email me at rmgjameshoyer@gmail.com.